Hello again, and welcome to day 2 of statistics. I know it says day 1, but this is just yesterday's note sheet, just so that I could share with you the starred problem down here. You put hopefully these numbers in your list. If you hit stat enter, the menu says edit, but stat enter gives you a list. You put them in, and hopefully you got a mean of 130, a median of 129. You'll notice as you look through there are two 135s, so that's your mode. And notice the numbers are pretty close. This one's a little higher, which is why I don't like mode. And then the mid-range, the smallest number plus the largest number divided by 2, 132.5. Very, very close, these three scores are. Remember, they are all measures of central tendency. They're all measuring the same thing. They should all be more or less the same. So this is nice. Mode's a little bit out there, but remember the mode could be the smallest number, could be the largest number. You could have a mode that's the smallest and the largest and nowhere near the middle, which is why I don't like it. And then you'll notice that the median is a little smaller than the mean, so this distribution is skewed slightly, very, very slightly to the right. If you graph these numbers, you probably wouldn't see the skewness because the difference between the mean and the median is so small. Now I'm going to look at the last sheet with the other starred question. Hopefully you put these numbers in your in a list. And the mean was 240.7. This one you had to round. I think it was 6.699. It was something. It was repeating, but I believe it rounded to 0.7. That's a traditional rounding rule in statistics that says if your data has no decimal places, you have 1. You always round one more decimal place than they gave you in the data. Median 227. Again, we have a small median, smaller mean, skewed to the right. And this set of data has no mode. Each number appears once and only once, so there's no mode. And then here's the mid-range. And these are all over the place. These are measures of central tendency. They are all over the place. They're really not that close. So that just means that your data is kind of all spread out. You got small numbers pulling this down. You've got big numbers pulling that up. And that your middle isn't exactly in the middle where it's supposed to be. But these are your 4 measures of central tendency. That's what we did yesterday, and hopefully that made sense. Now today we're going to do the same thing. There's no new information today. The only thing we're going to do is a couple buttons on your calculator, a new list, and this is day 2, and this is if you have what's called grouped data. This is kind of a review. We don't get to the group data till down here. But this comes up quite often is you have a bunch of scores, and let's just say these are the scores that you have in a class. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 scores, and then there's a question mark. Now you know if you go home and you have an average less than 85, you're going to be in trouble because 85 is mastery, and you want at least mastery. So you want to make sure that your average is at least an 85, and you've only got one test left because it's getting towards the end of the marking period. So we want to know, if I want an average of 85, and these are the numbers I have, what do I need to ensure that 85? So you take the numbers that you have, and I put them in my calculator. Here they are. Where are they? Stat. Where's that stat button? There it is. Now I used a lot of lists because I didn't want to have to add numbers in while I was talking to you. So this list number 1 are these 11 numbers I put in my list, and then I went to stat, calculate, enter. The numbers are in list 1, so I got to put a list 1 there because I was playing with this. Whoa! Somebody's not listening to me. There's list 1, and I have to clear this out. So I'm just going to clear. If you have a list you don't want, just hit clear. And I'm going to calculate just the numbers that are in list 1, and you'll see it tells me I have 11 numbers and they add up to 941. And that's what it says next. It says there are 11 numbers that we have so far, and they add up to 941. Because you know, if you're going to do an average, the first thing you have to do is add your numbers up. Now, common sense tells us that if I have 12 numbers, and every 12 numbers, because this is going to be my 12th number, and the 12 numbers have an average of 85, if they're all 85, if all 12 test scores 85 all the way across, your average is going to be 85. And that would be 12 times 85. That's going to be your sum. That's 1020. Let me make sure I did that right. 12 times 85. There's, oh, it's 1020. I read it wrong. There's that 1020. That's if every grade was 25. You divide by 12 because you want an average, and that's where that average, I thought I put a little smiley face there. There's your 85. So I only have a sum of 941. I want a sum of 1020 to get that 85, so I just subtract those. So this says that I need to have, for a missing score, that last test score needs to be at least a 79 so that I can get a average of 85. So I'm going to hit stats. Here's my list, and this is something nice you can do. I don't want to arrow all the way down to the end. So if you'll notice this little delete button, and above the delete button is an insert, you can hit second delete, and it'll open up a little box, and you can put that 79 in. And now if I do that, stat, calculate, I'm still in list 1. You'll see two things. I now have 12 numbers, not 11, and my average is 85. Now some of you might say, hey, maybe I don't need a 79. Maybe if I get a 78, my average will be 84.8 and it will round up. And you're right, but in statistics, here what they want is the number that they're looking for that will give you an 85 on the nose. And then there'll be, most likely it'll be multiple choice. And if you can't find that 79, you don't find something close. Or if it's multiple choice, take the choices, throw them in, and see which one gives you the average you want. But this is mathematically what you're supposed to do. Okay, next, this is our theme of the day. Here is your data values. These are scores on a test. I didn't put them in any specific order. I don't know why, I just didn't. I don't know if I got them from a book or wherever. And these are the frequencies. So I have 382s, 475s, 988s, and so on. So this is what's called a frequency list. Now, you may not mind putting 82 in your calculator 3 times, not a problem. And you might not mind putting 75 in your calculator 4 times in a list. But I don't think too many people are going to want to sit there and waste their time typing in 88 9 times. So the frequency list tells the calculator to not just put 188 in, but to put 9 in. So if you tell the calculator that you have a frequency list, it will recognize that list as how many 82s, how many 75s, how many 88s, etc. So that's what I did. Now, you don't have to put them in list 1 and list 2 because I used my list 1. So now I'm going to turn this on, and I didn't want to have to, enter all this while I was talking to you. So here is list 2. There's my 82, 75, 88, 92, etc., all the way down to 96. And then I put the frequencies in. This is how many 82s, how many 68s, there's 10 100s, woohoo, and there's 9 96s. So there's my frequency list. Now please make sure these have to line up. You cannot have, what are there, 10 here, I think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can't have 10 scores and 9 frequencies. You can't have 10 scores and 11 frequencies. So if you try to do this and the calculator gives you, it's called a domain error or mismatch. It might say mismatch, data mismatch, and that means that your numbers don't line up. Like if I forget here and I put L1, L2, because there's less in L2 than L1, it won't work. So I'm looking at it, L2, L3. So I'm now going to go to stats. Data in one list. I usually just put them in consecutive lists. It doesn't matter. It said 1, 2, but because my 1 was already used, I have 2 and 3. So I'm going to go over to the calculate. Remember, I only have one set of test scores, so it's one variable stats. My data is in L2. My frequency list is L3. And then you tell the calculator to calculate. Now here's where you know you did it right. If you get n equals 10, because there's 10 numbers here, the calculator's not reading this. But if you take, this is 7, this is 16, this is 23, this is 32, this is 34, 44, 50, 55. Somehow this comes up to 60. I don't know what I did there. But if you add these up, when I add them up the first time, these should come out to 60. And I don't know what I did when I did it in my head there. So as long as that n matches this column, and you can go back to make sure. This is L3, so I'm going to do 1 bar stats, L3, just L3. No frequency. I just want to know what do the numbers in L3, I'm going to clear that out, add up to. And that should be the 60 that is your n. Anytime in the calculator you see that EX, that's the total. That's a summation, which we would have done had we done the probability chapter, but we didn't quite get to that. So I have everything I need. Now I got to go back because I did it again. I'm going to do it one more time. Over here, I got to fix it. Now I know my data is in L2. My frequency is in L3. I'm calculating, and there is my mean. That's the X bar, 90.6. My median, 93.5. My mode is easy to see from the chart. 100 occurs most often. And then my mid-range. Now this one's a little harder to find because you got to look down here and find. 68 is the smallest score, 100 is the highest score. Because this wasn't in order, you got to look around and find it. Now don't sort this, because if you sort this and you don't sort this, it's going to be a mess because they're not going to line up. So there is your 84 is your mid-range. And you'll notice again, they're not real close, which means you have, and you'll notice that your median, finally, we have a median that is bigger than the mean. So this is bunched to the right. There's a lot of high scores here, which is a good thing. And it is skewed to the left. I didn't ask you to find that, but that's going to be important in a minute. Okay, so that's what we do with group data. You just type it in your calculator and you pull the numbers off the screen. Please check that n to make sure it's a big number and it's not the number of scores in that first data column. Now the only other thing you might have is sometimes instead of giving you a data value here like they did, instead of giving you one number, which is kind of nice, sometimes they give you an interval. There's an interval. I can't put those intervals in a list. I can't put these numbers in list 4. So to best estimate what these numbers are going to be, because we can only put one number, we put the midpoint of each in. So halfway between 61 and 65 is 63. This is 66, 68, 70. 68's in between. 71, 73, 75. So I find the middle point of each of these. And you'll notice when you're finished, you'll notice you did this right if you add the same number. 63 plus 5, plus 5, plus 5. These should all be in increments of 5. If one is going up by 5 and one by 4 and one by 2 and one by 3, that's bad. So you make sure You can, just like a normal midpoint, you can add these numbers up and divide by 2. Occasionally, it may come out to 63.5, but it's not going to come out to some long repeating decimal. It's going to be a whole number because you're dividing by 2, or it's going to be a 0.5. So those are the numbers that I then went and put in my L4. There they are. 63, 68, 73, 78, 83, 88, 93, 98. Now, unfortunately, whoever got 100, there's probably a couple hundreds in there, and, that didn't really count because it's a little low, but there's probably also 96s. So it's not going to be exact, but it's going to be pretty close. So that's the best we can do with group values. Especially, I didn't add these up in my head because you can see how well I did that in the last problem. But if I go to L5 and I add up that list, remember, I'm clearing this out because all I wanted to do is add this up and tell me what my N is. So I'm going to do that before I even start. So I have 221 grades. I'm not going to put 221 grades in one big long list. I don't even know if my calculator will go to 221, and it's going to take too long, but that would be exact. Because we're rounding here and we're using midpoints, it's going to be a little bit off, but it's not going to be off by that much. And that's what they want. They just want an estimate. So here is my calculate. My data is in L4. Those are my midpoints. My frequency is in L5. And I'm just going to calculate. And I have my average, 83.4. I have my median. Hopefully it's 83. There it is. And then I have my, and my modal class. My modal class, because I don't know what the mode is, because I don't know how many of these 45 grades or 91s or 92s or 93s or whatever. So it's called a modal class. So most of my grades are 91 to 95. And we don't do a mid-range here because I don't know what the lowest is. I don't know what the highest is. So we just stayed with mean, median, and modal class so that we could get, the best information we have. And then there's the little 3 stars. The mean is an estimate of the true mean since the exact data values were not known. And we just use that midpoint. Okay, that's all I have on mean, median, and mode. Now what I would like you to do is just a quick little 5-question multiple choice CASEL learning. I should have, it should be open today. If it's not open and you can't find Stats Day 2, email your teacher. I shared it with them yesterday, and they should have it for you, and it should be open. Okay, enjoy. I will see you tomorrow with my final video of the week. Take care.